Welcome to TYT Sports, Francis and Lindsay, joined by Ben Goldstein from cagepotato.com. And if you want to watch free fights, upcoming events, and get the latest MMA news, go to theCage, which is an app you can download. More details in the description below. But let's get to our next talking point. Anthony Pettis versus Gilbert Melendez. All we can say straight away is that Dana White came out and said that Pettis might be the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the world. That's something that I want to just pitch straight to you, Ben. What do you think of that comment?
Well, you got to understand, Dana White says that about every champion that has a fight coming up. It's just, his go-to talking point, his go-to method of hyping title fights, and it's basically meaningless. Personally, I still think John Jones deserves that #1 pound-for-pound spot just because of the length of his title reign, his creativity in the octagon. But then on the other hand, what other UFC champion is facing elite-level competition and just smashing them, finishing every time?
Yeah.
Anthony Pettis is doing that. Chris Weidman, he's another guy that comes to mind. But after that, the list gets pretty short. Even John Jones, like the last time he finished an opponent was Chael Sonnen, and that fight was sort of a joke to begin with. Or have someone like Ronda Rousey who's out there killing people, but her competition isn't as highly regarded as some of Anthony Pettis' recent opponents have. On the level of like a Gilbert Melendez or a Benson Henderson. So I'll say this: if Anthony Pettis can keep running through these guys, maybe he has a claim on that pound-for-pound title after all.
I do think he's the best striker in the UFC, though, don't you, Ben?
I do. He's a great striker, and he's a guy who made his name based on that flashy striking, the Showtime kick and all the cartwheel kicks. What's awesome about him, and what sort of came to mind in his finish of Gilbert Melendez, is now he's finishing guys on the ground. He's now submitting the best lightweights in the world, top-notch guys. Remember, that was the first time that Gilbert Melendez has ever been finished by anybody, ever. And before that armbar on Benson Henderson, a notoriously tough, durable fighter, is only the second time that Henderson's been finished. If you can't strike with Pettis, you can't stand up with him, you can't grapple with him either now, where are you safe? Yeah. He's just on another level right now.
So, taking your words yourself, you said the UFC, lightweight division is so talent heavy. Has he got a long way to go before he can say that he's completely cleaned out the division? Who should he fight next?
Yeah, absolutely. As well as he's been doing, this is, let's remember, only his first official title defense. Yeah. So he's got a lot of contenders to tangle with and knock out before he could actually say, I cleaned out the division. I think Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's that guy right now. He's 22-0. He's 6-0 in the UFC. He actually showed up to the UFC 181 post-event press conference just to mean mug Pettis, which I thought was great. He's maybe not the perfect candidate because Khabib hasn't fought in a while. He's maybe not a household name to casual fans. Casual fans maybe can't even pronounce his name. Khabib Nurmagomedov, that's a tough one, but he's dominated.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah.
He's a good trash talker, so I think he's the guy right now. Beyond that, I think Donald Cerrone has won 5 straight. He's on a tear himself. If he continues to win, maybe you see a rematch between Pettis and Cerrone. That's a rematch I'd love to see.
Yeah, well, all credit to Pettis anyway. After a 15-month layoff, you can't take it away from the guy. He comes out and finishes Melendez there, who hasn't been finished, as you said. It was an interesting fight. It's going to be very interesting as well to see who he fights next. But thanks again, Ben, for joining us. Thanks again, Lindsay, for your perspective. Make sure to subscribe to TYT Sports, all that good stuff. Check us out on social media. Don't know why I'm doing this.
Thanks, guys.
But we'll keep going.